2 simple steps to silencing the critics. Step 1. Stop being critical. The first thing to do to silence the critics is to stop being critical. Most of us don't want to criticize others because we know how awful it is to receive negative feedback. And most of us have, to some degree, a fear of criticism. Yet many of us fall into the trap of criticizing others. Ironically, how we talk about others is also how we talk to ourselves. If you get in the habit of taking shots at competitors, venting about the boss, or gossiping, you may just derail your own agenda. Why? It's not a healthy mindset for doing your own creative work. Most off-the-cuff criticism misses the essence of performing and public speaking anyway. Performance, or any creative endeavor, including but not limited to writing, product development, design, or project management, ultimately succeeds through an evolving process of rehearsing, iterating, and getting better through both inevitable mistakes and moments of good and bad luck. It's easy to pick out a mistake in an otherwise solid performance. Each time you pick away at someone else's work without realizing it, you are increasing the likelihood that you will do the same to yours. I don't think you can be a critic and a performer. I'm talking about the kind of criticism that puts people down rather than building them up. Anyone can tear something down. It's much harder and more meaningful to build something better instead. So, you choose, are you going to focus on performing at your best or spend your time attempting to best other people? By being respectful, you allow other people to make their own decisions about creative work. When we judge others, we diminish ourselves. We end up playing smaller rather than bigger. Just think about it. Could a chef feel liberated doing his work while also writing restaurant reviews? Could an artist feel fully self-expressed painting in the morning and then start blogging negatively about other artists in the afternoon? I suppose they might, but it suggests a serious lack of empathy. The more you criticize others, the more attention you give those critical thoughts, and the more sensitive you will become to criticism yourself. That's how the mind works. The energy it takes to compare and tear down someone else's work is lost for more productive endeavors, such as getting ready for the big speech, pitch, or interview. And, when you prepare for your performances, you don't focus on good or bad, but rather on what works and what can be improved. Step 2. Give a presentation that doesn't have any holes to poke. Almost everyone filling a seat, sitting in a conference room or across the table from you, is there to get something from your performance, ideas, inspiration, or an interesting analysis. Note that I said almost. Within that audience are 3 camps. Some people already support you or agree with you because you share a similar view of the world. They will continue to buy in more and more as you present. Some people absolutely will never take your perspective or have personal reasons for not liking what you have to say. You don't have much of a chance with this group. Finally, you will have folks in the middle who are open to your ideas but aren't on your side of the table yet. They may want to accept and adopt your speech's message and objective but need help or a little push to get there. In preparing for the event, try not to focus solely on either your fans or the die-hard detractors. If you focus on the fans, you'll be heard as pandering, and if you focus only on the naysayers, you'll likely water down your message and alienate your fans as well as the large swath of folks between the 2 camps. Instead, focus on targeting those in the middle, who the political scientists call the persuadables. They are the ones who are willing to think differently, change their minds, and potentially adopt your worldview. Even though the persuadables are open to your ideas, you may be provoking them by asking them to change their worldview. It can be easier for an audience member, even a persuadable one, to poke holes in your work in order to escape from grappling with your ideas or opinions. That's the threshold you'll have to pass. Even the most wonderfully gracious people in your audience may try to resist your ideas or requests in order to protect their perspectives. Often, it's easier to find fault than to change a long-held belief. So it is incumbent on you to design your presentation in such a way that there aren't any holes to poke in it. In Part 3 of this book, you will write, design, and develop speeches and presentations that are incredibly well organized and make a sound case for your ideas. In the meantime, let's start with a simple technique that you can use immediately to prevent others from poking holes in your point of view. Best of all, you can apply this technique to all of life's conversations and collaborations. When I give my Book Yourself Solid keynote presentation in front of a marketing crowd, early on I share my perspective on marketing, that it rarely gets them clients, but it does raise awareness of what they sell. What they do once a potential buyer becomes aware of their product or service is what actually books the business. However, I always leave room for their perspective. For example, if I use absolutes in my language, if I say marketing never gets you clients, then I've created holes that are easy to poke. Or, if I use other absolutes like everybody, everything, always, or no one, it's pretty easy for someone to poke a hole in my position. For example, if I say, no one likes earwax-flavored ice cream, you could refute my theory because it's possible that someone does, as crazy as it sounds, like earwax-flavored ice cream. As you read this book, notice how I always attempt to leave room for alternative ideas or experiences by qualifying my statements with, it seems like, or it is often the case, or it appears to me, see what I just did. I said, I attempt to leave, because it's possible that I may inadvertently use an absolute that isn't actually an absolute somewhere in this book and miss it when editing. It's unlikely you can close every hole, but do everything within your power to make your arguments solid. If you do, it's less likely you or your work will be criticized. Plus, all generalities are false, including that one. Thank you, but no. It's sophisticated to reflect on and analyze what's working and what can be improved in all aspects of your life. It's the key to successful personal and professional development. Additionally, it's helpful when someone offers you reflective, thoughtful analysis and tailors the discussion in great detail to what you want to achieve rather than their own agenda. It's mature and usually the most productive for them to ask consent to share their opinions and ideas with you. It's smart when they pick the right time to offer feedback. 5 minutes after your presentation is not that time. However, unless you are professionally or personally obligated to take someone's feedback, you have every right in the world to say thanks, but no thanks when it's offered. Too often we let other people inside our heads to be polite or out of some self-imposed sense of responsibility to hear people out. I don't think you have to. Of course, I don't suggest closing yourself off from feedback. Just make sure you allow and only the thoughts of conscientious and caring people. When you feel anxious about an aspect of a performance, always focus on the right thing, achieving your objective. Your job is simply to deliver on the promise built into the content of the speech you've created and rehearsed, the product launch you've shepherded through channels, or the annual strategic planning session you've designed and will facilitate. Always focus on the outcome you want to achieve in a meeting, interview, or negotiation rather than how you think you're doing and what you think people will think of you. Rise above the noise. Returning to the advice of our friend Bruno Mars, while you and I might not be movie or music stars and may only give a game-changing performance a few times a year, our job as performers is to uplift the people, to rise above the noise, and to give our audience a powerful experience that will change their thinking about their work, ignite their passions to make a difference, believe in something new about themselves, or say yes to your request for a salary bump, yes to buying your product, or yes to investing in your company. Don't give critics the chance to slow you down, and don't let the critic inside you do that either.